He's asking me these questions about you, and I'm like, wait till you talk to him, all right, about different things about, would he know anything about healthy nutrition? I said, trust me. When you ask him, I said, when I spent the week at his house, my God, I don't think he had a drop of sugar in the house. So all right, well,
but there was no suffering.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'll start with my question.
Yeah.
So my wife does medical assisting, and she had to work at an allergy center. So people would come in, they get shots for different allergies if, pollen's a problem, or if they find out later in life that they don't like blueberries and they're allergic to blueberries. And oftentimes people would say, what's funny is it's not going to be hard for me not to eat that because I don't like that anyways. So my question was, is there a connection? Does your brain know sometimes when there's an allergy and just keeps you away from all that food to begin with?
Sometimes, that's a fascinating observation that if you eat something and then you get brain fog, well, pretty soon you stop eating it. The problem is people are in love with foods that abuse them. So I think of food like relationships, right? I mean, all of us, not all of us, but me certainly was in a bad relationship for a long time. And I'm not doing that anymore. But then people will say, I had one woman say, well, I'd rather get Alzheimer's disease than give up sugar. Well, that's a bad relationship. And so I don't like any foods that don't like me back. And that's why nutrition is absolutely essential for brain health. What are the foods that are good for you? And can you find just 20 of them? Because you can make a life out of 20 foods that serve your body rather than hurt your body.
So what would be some of those foods? Like, if someone's working in an office setting from 8 to 5, it's tough sometimes to pack the proper lunch, pack the proper snacks. What would you recommend to someone who's working like an 8 to 5? They want to eat something healthy that will help their brain.
Well, nuts are a great thing that you can take to work. I mean, Jim knows this, that the healthy fats are absolutely essential. There's this huge new study on, are carbs really good for you or more fat, protein-based diet? And the people who ate more fat than carbs actually lived significantly longer. And so I often, will bring my lunch. I'll cut up some veggies and bring hummus or avocados. So I love sort of smashed avocados. And it used to be, there's too much fat in there. And it's like, well, now we know 60% of your brain is fat. So if somebody calls you a fathead, say thank you. So that can be really good. Salads with vegetables and healthy protein. I mean, that's really the best way to think of eating over time. The processed foods are filled with something called omega-6 fatty acids, which really damaging to heart health and brain health. So the easy, simple things that we give at schools, at hospitals, where people are trying to learn or trying to heal them, really make learning and healing harder.
So I'm guessing that's a lot less bacon, a lot less of the things that you see a lot of Americans enjoy, but you just got to kind of switch your habits and switch your mindset then, right?
Right. I mean, God gave you a big brain for a reason. and the problem with the brain is it hates change. So if you grow up with Frosted Flakes for breakfast, then you're used to having sugar in the morning. But we actually know if you have protein in the morning, you can focus significantly longer, which means you're more likely to get a raise. So food is critical to brain function. And there is no suffering. So when Jim spent the week at my house, only ate healthy. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because, when you're eating in a healthy way, it actually wakes up your taste buds.
And Dave, I love dark chocolate. I have to eat that every day. But I'm not going to mention the brands that I eat or anything. But when Daniel gave me a dark chocolate bar, all right, it's called Brain and Love. All right, my God, it is just amazing. And there's no sugar in it. It's healthy for you. And, dark chocolate, how I believe in that. I tell everybody dark chocolate. But if you got to eat dark chocolate, that's the way to go. Healthy. Right. And Daniel, how many? I must have ate about 100 of those bars since I've seen you. You keep sending me them. It's like they're delicious.
Right.
It's like,
So that's one of those 20 things that you love that loves you back.
Right.
No sugar, no dairy, 9 grams of fiber. So that's another one of the tricks to get healthy is, eat a lot of fiber. It keeps your intestinal tract clean, but it helps with digestion. You absorb more nutrients. It helps get rid of toxins in your body. So an apple, certainly should be one of the 20 because it's loaded with fiber and it tastes great.
Apples. Wow.
An apple a day, right? Keeps the doctor away, or an apple away keeps your brain active.
I never knew that. I never knew apple. I knew blueberries were good, but I never, for your brain, I didn't know apples. Wow, that's awesome, because I like apples. I eat apples. That's great.
Make sure they're organic because you don't need the pesticides. And a lot of people don't, they go, oh, pesticides, it's all marketing. It's like, no, your gut has 100 trillion bugs. So bacteria, viruses, fungus. And the bacteria make neurotransmitters, they help make hormones, they help with absorption, they get rid of toxins. And what do pesticides kill? Bugs. And so when you're eating pesticide-laden foods, you're disrupting your gut, and there's a whole new science about the gut-brain connection. Yep. So if your gut's not right, you're not going to think right. You're not going to feel right. If you had a lot of antibiotics, they kill bugs. When you were a child, odds are you have more anxiety as an adult because it's disrupted. It's called the microbiome, but it's all those bugs in your gut. Which is why people take probiotics or they eat probiotic foods. So another one of the 20 foods could be sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut. But sauerkraut actually is filled with those good bugs, and so I have it as often as I can.
Well, when we got together tonight, Dave and myself, I didn't even know where to start with you. There's like a million different things you can talk to Daniel about. This guy is like well-versed in everything from spec scanning to. But let's start with how we met. That was the most unusual. Daniel, tell David how we met. It's just amazing.
So I was in Washington, D.C. for public television. I have written 12 now public television specials. And I was with my friend Bill Chatfield in D.C. I just, had breakfast with him before I had to go to Baltimore for the PBS special. And he said, you have to meet my friend Jim Carroll. And he was at Andrews Air Force Base. And I had time, and, I love Bill. And so we went there, and I got to meet Jim. And I was just fascinated by what he could do with his mind. It was just unbelievable. And at that same lobby, where we were at Andrews Air Force Base, the same big room, Jim goes, hey, you want to meet Scarlett Johansson? And I'm like, hey, yes, I do. And, she's like one of my fantasy girls. And I went and met her. She's very pretty, very nice. And then I went back to talk to Jim. And when I called my wife later, I was like so much more excited to tell her about Jim than Scarlett, because Jim's just one of the most interesting people I've ever met, like in my whole life.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we were getting ready to go on that world tour. Mm-hmm. And when I met Daniel, he was a legend to me. I knew him, but I've never met him. What an awesome. And ever since then, my gosh, we must talk at least once a week. And then he brought me out to California, stayed with him for a week. We shot a lot of footage. And that's when we did the Memory Rescue. Not the Memory Rescue. That's your book, Memory Rescue, which I'm actually in chapter, 16 you mentioned me? That's awesome. Tell me, that's what the commonality between the two of us is, the memory. Because he's all about improving memory and through health and through fitness and through everything. And I'm, how I do my thing. Daniel, tell us a little bit about your whole Memory Rescue book and everything else. I can't wait till that comes out. I think it's coming out, next week, right?
So next Tuesday, It comes out. And so for the last year and a half, I've been writing this book, and memory rescue is based on this one very simple idea. If you want to keep your brain healthy or get it back if you believe it's headed to the dark place, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors that steal your mind. And we know what they are. And I created a mnemonic called Bright Minds to help people know. So B is for blood flow, R is retirement and aging, I is inflammation, and so on. And the brain imaging work we do has shown that you can actually reverse aging and memory issues by attacking all of the risk factors. But one of the things I wanted to do in the book was also teach people how to enhance their memory. So when I met Jim, I'm like so excited because he's a world-class mentalist and memory expert. What he can do with his mind was just, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So I convinced him to film a course with me. We call it Jim Carroll's Memory Master course, to teach people how to transform their own memory. And it was just so much fun to spend time with him and to do this course. So if people want to learn about it, they can go to memorymastercourse.com. But, you know, the big message of my life, I've been doing brain imaging for 26 years. And the big message is you're not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better, and I can prove it. And so I did the big NFL study at a time when the NFL was having trouble with the truth about, you know, how bad football is for your brain. But, you know, most thoughtful 9-year-olds would go playing football is a brain-damaging sport. But what people still don't know is if you've been bad to your brain, you've played football, been an alcoholic, had toxic exposure, head trauma, if you do the right things, if you put the brain in a healing environment, it can get better. And that's what we do. We show you how to do it. And Jim's story was just so beautiful, so important to me that I put it in the book, and then he and I created this great course together.
Yeah, I think, how many, 7 lessons we had, right? One was, what was it, creating, see if I can remember, creating your mental matrix, I think was chapter 1, right? And what was it,
Right.
Then the techniques. It's really cool, David. The both of us were sitting at a table and going back and forth and just winging everything. It was just, nothing was scripted. We just winged it. And it just came out so great. Hey, Daniel, I am getting so much response from that, from people. You know, it's just amazing. I'm getting a lot of response from that. So that was a lot of fun making that, a lot of fun hanging out with Daniel and his beautiful wife. You talk, and then your wife's a nutritionist as well. Oh my God. It's like, these guys are like, I'm telling you, you stay in his home and hey, Daniel, now he's not going to brag about this. I'm one of the best ping pong players around. Okay. I went out there and Daniel schooled me, David. I mean, it wasn't even close. What was it? What was it, 21-2 or something? This guy's amazing. I'm telling you. It's like, hey, ping pong, that's probably good for your brain, right? Anything like that, right, Daniel? What would you think? Playing ping pong.
Awesome for your brain.
Yeah.
It's one of the best brain games.
Yeah.
So new learning is absolutely critical to growing your hippocampus. And when Jim's brain was scanned, his hippocampus was large. So that's this seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain that gets short-term memory into long-term memory, so you can keep your memories. And so new learning, what Jim does and teaches people to do in our course, is amazing. But what's also amazing is coordination exercises like table tennis or tennis.
Yeah.
In fact, a brand new study last year came out, 88,000 people. Who lives the longest? People who play racket sports. So football, soccer, wrestling, boxing, they live the shortest. Running actually didn't give you a big longevity boost. Swimming was good, but the best was racket sports. And that's why I played table tennis virtually my whole life.
And you're very good at it, too, along with everything else. Now, I was trying to explain to David and to everybody SPECT scanning. Could you get into that a little bit?
So 1991, I've been a psychiatrist for almost a decade. I was irritated because psychiatrists are the only medical doctors who never look at the organ they treat. And I went to a lecture at my local hospital on a study called SPECT, S-P-E-C-T, and SPECT looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how the brain works. And I was so excited because, besides taking a good clinical history, I could image my patients. And the first 10 patients, it dramatically, I had better outcomes. One of them was a 69-year-old woman, Matilda, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. But when I scanned her, she didn't have the pattern in her brain that had already been published on Alzheimer's disease. Instead, it looked like she had this thing we call pseudo-dementia, which is she's depressed, but looks like she has dementia. And when I put her on a medicine for depression, within 3 weeks, all of a sudden she blossomed. And her memory's better, her mood's better. She's starting to lead groups on the hospital ward. She's teaching cooking classes. And, it just made my heart sing. So over the next 26 years, my team and I would actually build the world's largest database of brain scans related to behavior. So when we did the big NFL study, that's what we did. We did SPECT scans on them and showed high levels of damage, but also the exciting news was the possibility of recovery for about 80% of them. And we've scanned 100 murderers and published on that. People who do bad things usually have bad brains. Not always, but usually. So when you hear about these mass shootings, that just seem to happen every other day, they're often people who have brains that are troubled. And, it even got to the point that if you dated my daughter for more than 4 months, I scanned you. I said, hey, you haven't seen the clinic. You want to come see the clinic? And then when I met Tana, who Jim knows, she's beautiful.
She's awesome.
And
Awesome.
I'm like, I like this woman. But I didn't want to like her. Her brain was going to make me crazy. And so after about 2.5 weeks, I said, hey, sweetie, you haven't seen the clinic. You want to come see the clinic?
My gosh, you scanned her. Oh. Oh, man.
And we scanned her, and her brain was good. So ultimately, I married her. And it's just been so good.
You're worse than Robert De Niro. I'll meet the parents for your daughter. She brings the boyfriend home. Could you step in here a second, please? It's amazing. I'm telling you, the brain is just the most amazing thing in the world. And as we know, the people that I surround myself, and I worked in a steel mill, Dave. I'm not supposed to be able to even talk to a guy like Daniel. Mm-hmm. And it's just, we were just meant to meet. And it's, wow, he's just done so much for my life. It's just amazing. It's just your brain. Yeah, because I don't know how I do what I do. I just sit there, and my only method was push your brain every night. The more you study, the better. But I never knew what was really going on until I talked to Daniel, what's really happening up there. And it's so important to find that out.
I have a question about that. So we talked to a lot of doctors with Jim, and Jim says this all the time too, that, anyone can train their brain at any age. So even if you're younger or older, Daniel, can you push your brain and push your memory to improve it? If you're after 50, do you think, there's not enough time left for me to do this? Is it still possible to pull all this off?
It's possible until you're dead.
Yeah.
So every day you are growing your brain. So the hippocampus we talked about every day makes new cells. It's one of the few areas of the brain where stem cells, or baby cells, are produced every day. In the hippocampus, up to 700 new cells a day. And if you put them in a healing environment, you can grow them, and they become part of your hippocampus. If you birth them in a toxic environment, you kill them, and your hippocampus becomes smaller over time, no matter what your age. So one of my favorite patients was 94 when she came to see me, and I'm like, why are you here? And she said, well, you help my grandson and you help my daughter, and I want to be able to finish the paper. I just can't concentrate. And so she did all the things that I asked her to. We talk about in Memory Rescue. And she came back a month later, and she told me, and she had this bright smile on her face, I read my first book. I mean, how exciting is that? It is never too late to change your brain and change your life. You just have to know what are the things to do and what are the things not to do. Like alcohol is not a health food, right? I mean, we had this idea, and oh, well, I should have 2 glasses of red wine a day, which was a brilliant marketing tool of the Napa Valley. And, alcohol. Why do nurses put alcohol on your skin before they give you a shot? Because it kills bugs. Well, you have 100 trillion of those suckers in your GI tract. The more alcohol you pour in, the worse that is sexually for your gut, which means the worse it is for your brain.
Talking about the age, I didn't start till I was 49, 50 years old, and I worked I had no knowledge of anything I have now. Mm-hmm. So, Daniel, I'm doing the push your brain to learn new information each and every night part of it. Like, what more can people do besides pushing their brain? And then we talked about the nutritious part. Is there anything else? Like, what else is there?
So let me just quickly go through those 11 risk factors and give just one thing for each. So B is for blood flow. Low blood flow is the number one brain imaging predictor of Alzheimer's disease. Exercise. Exercise boosts blood flow to your brain. And that's not hard. And people who are 80 who can walk 3 miles an hour have a 90% chance of living to 90. But people who are 80 who can only walk a mile an hour have a 90% chance they won't live until 90. So exercise, walk fast. R is retirement and aging. Well, this is where Jim comes in. It's new learning. When you stop learning, your brain starts dying. When you learn new things, your brain starts growing. I is for inflammation, which comes from the Latin word to set a fire. When you have inflammation in your body, it's like you have a low-level fire that's destroying your organs. Omega-3 fatty acids, absolutely essential to decrease inflammation and grow your brain. G is genetics. You have it in your family. Runs in families. You just need to be serious about all other 10 risk factors. H is head trauma, increases your risk. Do everything you can to protect yourself from trauma, which means do not text and drive. T is toxins. Probably the number one reason people lose their minds. We're living in a toxic society. I actually like this app called Think Dirty. And Think Dirty, you can scan all of your personal products, and it'll tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 how quickly they're killing you. So you got to get rid of the toxins and support your organs in detoxification, like taking a sauna every day. People who take saunas 5 to 7 times a week have 2/3 lower risk of Alzheimer's disease than people who only do it once a week. Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting. Saunas.
M is mental health. So depression increases your risk of dementia. Start every day with this simple phrase: today is going to be a great day. And then you're programming your mind to find why it's going to be a great day. So getting your mindset right. The second I is immunity and infections. Know your vitamin D level and optimize it. 80% of the American population is low in vitamin D, which increases your risk of depression, dementia, and cancer and heart disease. N is neurohormone deficiencies. When your hormones are low, thyroid, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone for women, they're like miracle grow for your brain. Your brain actually atrophies. It shrinks. D is diabetes. It's a worldwide crisis. You're overweight and your blood sugar is up. So either one of them is bad for your brain. I published 2 studies that showed as your weight went up, the size and function of your brain goes down, which should scare the fat off anyone. And it's just critical to get to healthy weight. So this is where nutrition is critical. And S is sleep. Less than 7 hours a night is associated with lower blood flow to the brain, which means more bad decisions. So focus on 7.
Yeah, and that bright minds thing is really cool. It's we put that in the Memory Master course, and I'm sure that's what your whole book is about. I'll tell you how important is it, for the cognitive fitness is the most important thing. And I always knew that, but I never knew the nutritional end until I met Daniel. It's like, and so I'm trying. I mean, I don't know if I'll get to where he is, I mean, I'm trying to eat my salads every day and cut back on the sugar. I don't know if I'll ever be able to completely stop it like he did. And the only part I'm going to have problems with is the fish. I can't eat fish. Daniel, what do you recommend to people that can't eat fish? They just can't eat it.
You need to take fish oil. You need to do it, because we just published a study in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease that people who had low omega-3 levels in their blood had a smaller brain. And so if you don't like fish or you're allergic to fish, get a really high-quality fish oil supplement. And if you're allergic to fish, they actually make algae omega-3 supplements. But it's critical because it makes up 25% of the nerve cell membranes in your brain. And if you want to be your best, that is just critically important.
I can't think of anything more important than brain health, because brain health affects you physically. So Memory Rescue, Daniel's book, Memory Rescue, and the course we did together, Memory Master course, I'm telling you, man, that was so important. I mean, that's what we were here to meet for, me and him. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, oh, man, it's just fantastic. Now, Daniel, one other thing. How about veterans that served our country, especially those suffering from like PTSD, things like that? What would you recommend, besides obviously the book and the course? I mean, what would you recommend to the people that are struggling with these problems, these issues that come with PTSD?
So I'm a veteran. I've always had a special place in my heart. I was an infantry medic during Vietnam, and after I got out of medical school, I went back and did my residency at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center and my child psychiatry fellowship in Tripler in Hawaii. So I spent a total of 16 years in the military between active and reserve. And there are heroes, right? I mean, I did the big NFL study, but football players are not heroes, they're entertainers. Firefighters and veterans, they really are heroes.
Yes.
And we need to do a better job of taking care of their brains. I mean, it's still going after those 11 major risk factors. And if you've been in the military, it's almost like you have to be more serious, because we were exposed to head trauma. The Navy SEALs I've seen, for example, have done thousands of breaches, where they'd explode out a door and, do the exercise to breach a building. That's terrible for their brain. Or those people that went to Iraq and Afghanistan were often exposed to toxins, especially during the Gulf War I. This whole Gulf War syndrome. They were exposed to toxins, certainly Agent Orange in Vietnam. And so being more serious about taking care of and loving their brains, absolutely essential to having a wonderful life.
So this works for, it doesn't matter if you're a senior, it doesn't matter if you're military with an injured brain or an athlete with an injured brain, or if you're Dave trying to get the edge on the rest of the people. This is good for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're 6 or 96, right? To improving your brain.
Right. And ultimately, it's what we do here at Amen Clinics. It's addiction rescue. It's depression rescue. ADD rescue. It's concussion rescue. This is the program we use to get people a better brain and a better life.
Well, Daniel, you are absolutely the man. I'll tell you, it's the best thing I ever did was having Bill Chatfield bring you down to D.C. I know he was talking about bringing you to Walter Reed one day when I'm down there, and then when we did the tour with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and Scarlett was there, I think you really came to see Scarlett and just accidentally met me. I think that's what really happened.
And stumbled into Jim Carroll.
But anyway,
well, I didn't know Scarlett was going to be there.
Oh,
I actually absolutely would have been there.
Yeah,
but the reason I'm thrilled that I went that day was because I met you. And I told you, did I tell you I'm going to the White House on Wednesday?
Oh, my gosh.
They have a mental health day, and Amen Clinics was listed as one of the leaders in mental health. And so we're going to go find out what President Trump has in mind.
That's awesome, Daniel. Hey, man, you're the best. Good luck. Have fun down in D.C. My God, you're going to be at the White House. Wow, that's awesome. I've never been at the White House. I mean, I was at the White House when George Bush was president and Barbara Bush. That's how many years ago. The last couple presidents, I haven't been down it, but I'm always down at the Pentagon and doing stuff with the DOD. But that's great, man. Hey, good luck with that, Daniel. You're the best, man. You're really awesome. Thank you for being part of this. I'll probably be talking to you tomorrow night already. Every night, like whenever I have something going, like I'll be lifting weights, getting all pumped up, and all these endorphins flowing. I'll call Daniel. What does this mean? What he's probably getting. So I'm probably gonna. I'll tell you. Or like, hey, what do you? I don't know what. I'm just so fascinated with what's going on in my life. You know what I mean? And to surround myself with people that actually know. You know what I mean? It's awesome. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I've had fun talking to you. I've been jotting down notes the entire time. I wrote down the Think Dirty app because I'm an app kind of guy. If I have stuff on my phone and I see it visually every day, I think that'll help. And I just think, everything you touched on, too, about diet is so important. I mean, not that I have the best diet in the world. I work in radio, so that's a little bit of a problem there. But, easy steps, I think, to improve brain health, just simple changes to diet and simple changes to looking at how to buy food can make all the difference.
You're the best, Dr. Daniel Amen. Hey, Daniel, we're gonna have to get Tana on here sometime to talk about nutrition. That would be awesome. I miss you guys.
She would love to do it.
I would do. Oh my God, I miss you guys so much. That was awesome being out there for that time. But we'll do it again soon, I'm sure. Okay, Dr. Daniel Amen, thank you so much.
Take care.
Buddy. All right, bud.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Amazing stuff from the doctor himself. I mean, just amazing stuff all around.
I'm telling you, he's like, wow, what do you call it? I don't know. To meet people like Dr. Daniel, when I met him down there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm finally meeting somebody that could pick my brain and find out what the heck is going on in here. Like, how do you go from steel worker with no formal education and at the age of 49 all of a sudden becoming this? I have to know what's happening. So you know what I mean? And people like Daniel. And then when I went out there, I only knew 1/10 of what was happening. I didn't know anything about the nutrition end of it. And then when I seen the SPECT scanning, he must have scanned tens of thousands of people's brains, and it's just amazing. He's an amazing individual, very intelligent, very articulate. I mean, he helps the NFL. He helps a lot of celebrities, and it's just amazing out there. And he has clinics now all over the country. I think he just opened one up in Chicago as well. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
So here's a quick question before we close then.
Yeah.
So since you've been meeting all these people and you've been learning more about the brain, obviously, like you were saying, you ate the dark chocolate. You're trying to cut back on the sugars. Do you see more improvement in your memory?
Without a doubt. Oh my God, that's not only improvement, but with the improvement comes the motivational factor for me anyway, and I think it would for anybody. In other words, I just want to keep doing it. I want to keep like then when I go home at night. Like my wife hasn't been home the last couple of days. She's in the hospital having some problems, and so I'm at home. I'm just looking at my phone and just studying different sites, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Harvard, MIT, and I just keep learning what my brain just wants to. It's almost like I'm hungry, and you want to eat when you're hungry. Well, my brain is hungry for knowledge, and I'm just and I think by doing that, it's the best thing I could be doing, not only for my brain health but for my total health. It's just amazing. But yeah, and these guys. The doctors out here that really know what's going on. I'm not an educated person by any means, but now everybody's like checking me out like, how is this possible? How do you know this? How do you know that? How do you know that? And now some of the stuff I'm getting into now, David, we'll get into that down the road. Like we'll start talking. We'll really go out of the box, talk about the 6th and 7th and 8th senses that we all have.
Beautiful.
That I'm stumbling upon. And we'll have some fun with this, and we'll have a lot of great guests lined up. It's just amazing. I mean, my emails and phone calls are off the hook of people that want to come on already. It's so awesome. This is great.
Beautiful. You can listen for more for Purely Mental anytime at jimkarol.com. And as Jim always says, it's Carol with a K, right?
Yeah, Carol with a K. JimKarol.com. I'm Jim Carroll and Mr. Dave Wheeler over here. And no matter if it's nighttime, daytime, wherever you are, God bless the troops out there.
You're listening to Purely Mental with Dave Wheeler and Jim Carroll.